Hey everyone, welcome to my brand new channel. I am Little Fawn. Hello. So very quickly, since this is the first video, I will just say that I am a channeler, a quantum healer. What else do I do? I'm a creative coach, a singer, songwriter, musician, and producer, and I also do aromatherapy, Reiki practitioner, and an intuitive tarot reader. I think that about covers it. I've kind of always been channeling, but like not knowing that I was doing it. And then I had a reading in 2021 by a very gifted channeler and reader. And one of the first things she said to me was, "Oh, you feel like me. Do you do what I do? You feel like me." And I was like, no. No, I'm a singer. My whole identity was wrapped around being a musician and a songwriter and a performer. And I got a lot of messages that day because I just went in and thought, I've never had a channeled reading before. It sounds cool. I wonder what that'll be like. And they really wanted me to like do it on purpose. So I had been unknowingly channeling, mostly when I was in the shower. The water is a conduit, and I would be receiving things and thinking to myself, kind of like outside of myself a little bit, like, whoa, that was good, you know? And I knew it wasn't mine, but I didn't have a context or frame of reference really for like, well, where else would it be? Like, what else? Who else would it be? So I kind of paid attention, sort of wishing that I had, you know, a tape recorder in there so I could say it out loud as I was getting it. Isn't that funny how like I was like, I'm not channeling, and that was my instinct to catch it, because as anybody who has channeled or channels knows, you get imprinted with it. For me, it's like whole thought forms, and they don't need words because it's frequency, and I receive the frequency and then I translate into words, but I don't remember the words because in a weird way they're not for me, because I received the direct download, the direct imprint. And sometimes I'll go back and read it and be like, whoa. Or a lot of times I'll have my partner Louie read it, because what we're going to do tonight, one of the ways that I share is when it comes in a meditation, I'll transcribe it through automatic writing, and then I have him read it, and anything that he's like, his head is about to explode, that's when I know, okay, I can pause and kind of explain, because in receiving the direct download, I automatically receive the capacity to translate it in a way that is kind of like the cosmic equivalent of layman's terms, if that makes sense. So I don't want to spend too much time on all of the insies and whatsies of it all, but sorry, I'm hungry, so I'm drinking a shake. Yes. So yeah, I have another YouTube channel that started out as a music channel like a million years ago, and then it was dead for a while, and then it morphed into kind of what I'm doing now. But I wanted to create something that was new and clean, so I'll post a link. Today we're going to be hearing from ASHA, who they were the water beings, which they are in fact water beings. But I have a whole series where I've started to share those files, those transcriptions on the old channel. So I'll send a link to the very first one of those, and then if you want to go down that rabbit hole, knock yourselves out. But for today's purposes, ASHA is, they are a very highly civilized, highly intelligent dolphin and whale race from Sirius B, which is a water planet. They're very high frequency. They deal in harmonics. That is their specialty, and manifestation. They use harmonics to manifest. So it's that aligning and allowing, but instead of it being one person trying to align and open and, you know, manifest whatever it is that we as humans want to manifest in a day-to-day situation, they do it collectively. So they're able to manifest entire civilizations, because they put the power of that collective frequency and energy into like a prime focus point that unfolds, which is really cool. So they are a lovely energy. For those who are interested in or care about kind of the specificities, I believe that they are 6th density, and they move kind of, their evolutionary track is moving kind of from 5th dimension, which is where we're headed as humans, moving into a more 7th dimension expression. So the density is kind of like their frequency makeup, and then the dimension is the frequency spectrum that is their playing field, their collective playing field. And some of them are fully embodied, but they're lighter, again, lighter in density than we are, which is why they're able to play in that way of harmonics for manifestation. One of the ways they explained it to me is in our dream time, it's as close as we get to it really in that higher frequency spectrum, even though sometimes dreams be weird. But sometimes they gave me a whole meditation where I was in the water with them, but I was like me, not a dolphin. And I was like, oh man, this is really cool. I would love to stay here. And they're like, well, why don't you? And I was like, well, I don't have gills. Like I won't last out here. There's a point where I'm gonna want land under my feet, or I'll just drown because I'll be too tired. And I was like, but I was really far out in this little place they took me. And I was like, I guess I could swim, but I don't know if I have it in me to swim that far. Or maybe there's a sandbar out here somewhere that I could kind of hop on. And they were like, or maybe there's another way. And they gave me that kind of aha moment of, so if this was a dream, which in a way it is, you know, it all is, what would you do specifically in like our dream time? What do? We very rarely take means of travel to get places in our dreams. Sometimes they show up as symbols, like we're on a train or we see a plane, like things like that, but we're very rarely, I can talk, like, hey, let's get in our car and drive to the place that we want to go. It's like you're here and you're there. And that was kind of how they said, like, oh, you're intending to be here in the water, you're in the water. You want to be on the shore. And it was like, I was there because I wanted to be there. My frequency aligned with the frequency of someone who is on the shore. So that's kind of like, that's kind of their bag, their game. But yeah, they're a lot of fun, and there's different, again, I won't go too much into it because there is a whole series that explains it a little more, but there are different levels within their collective, like collectives within the collective. And I tend to interact more with the ones who are choosing to be incarnate, like in physical forms, because it's easier for me to rise to meet them, and them to kind of like, we have a meeting place that feels good for everybody. It's a lovely harmonic that is able to be sustained. So that's ASHA, and that's who we're going to speak to today. So for today's inaugural transcription and message, the topic was everything all at once everywhere. You know, it's more and more we're realizing that time is kind of a construct of our making, as part of this human experience, living between the two poles of duality. In the 3rd dimension, time, our souls decided this will be a helpful measure for us in order to maintain some type of an order. But it's not real in the sense that when you get into the higher dimensions and the upper register frequencies, they don't need it in the way that it is helpful for us here. So it exists because we choose it to exist, but also it doesn't, it's not like fixed, I think would be a good way to look at it. So I asked, is everything happening now? And this was their response. And I'm going to break this down into, it's very dense. When it comes in, I'm like, la la la, it's words. And then by the end of it, I'm like, whoa. And then when I go back and retype it so that it's legible, because no one needs to read my actual journals because I like longhand best. It's dense. It's dense. So I like to give it in bite-sized portions, because another thing that they really like, that I shouldn't say, they really like it, yes, and they're very good at, which is as we lift our frequency and move into these higher spectrums, you don't want to go like if you're gonna run the Boston Marathon, you don't just wake up and go, oh, I'm gonna put my sneakers on, here I go. No, you train, you build, and you hit your plateau, and you integrate, and then you stretch more, farther, you run farther, like you push yourself farther. So in this frequency work, it's the same. It's not necessarily always beneficial just to like go 0 to 100 miles an hour in one shot, because while the rush might be cool, you can't actually maintain that or sustain it at your current, at the vibration going in. So they like to encourage that, just stretch. I'm a singer, and some of the littles that I teach, they want to hit all the high notes, and I'm like, we don't want to stretch it so that the rubber band snaps back. We want to stretch, and then you're able to hold, and stretch and able to hold, and that's how we move more gracefully into these kind of beautiful unknowns. So, is everything happening now? And ASHA's response begins, yes. That is the simple answer as we see it from our frequency spectrum of expression and experience. However, within these everythings in their simultaneous occurrence, there are very much so linear expressions and explorations of experience. And by this, we mean that there is a point A leading to a point B. The path between is a free-form journey for the one incarnate to explore however they choose it, but it is ultimately a line, but only solely within that expression at that time, for that is what was chosen for that time. And within these chosen linear time-space continuums, there's also an offering of the spiral as well as the wheel. And to differentiate these two, we will use the word karma, although that word is not what most of you think it is or use it to mean. For our and your soul purposes, we will define karma simply as the learning and teaching pole within your dualistic frequency spectrum and playing field as a soul choosing to have a human arc of experience for the expressed purpose of learning and also teaching what you have learned, one way or another. And so the wheel is karma's offering, cycles of completion and evolution within a single timeline. So you can see it's very dense. So like we were just talking about, there is a straight line. We've chosen to lay out timelines and to lay out our path. Also, for those of you just meeting me, I am Italian, and so my hands tend to fly all over the place. And I'm acutely aware now that I'm speaking for new people, or people who, may be new. So yes, so inside of this creation of, hey, we're gonna come in here, we're gonna incarnate here, and ultimately we're gonna get to there. Within that delineation, there's complete freedom to kind of like, you can take as long and as winding of a road as you want, or you can go, start to finish pretty quickly. That'd be kind of boring. But it's all about choice. But whatever lessons that your soul programmed in for you to learn and to teach, those things will happen. Whether you're doing it consciously or unconsciously, the soul will have that experience one way or another, like they say. And karma is not, I did this bad thing and now I have to atone for it. Oh, I did this horrible thing, so horrible things coming back to me. It's the cycle of learning, and the learning continues until the lesson is learned. So it's not a punishment. It's not, tit for tat. It's not like that. It's like, hey, you're gonna learn this lesson. Oh, still didn't learn it. So we're gonna go back and show it to you another way. And then eventually it's like, oh, you have an awareness of this kind of hamster wheel, and you're able to stop and just hop off. But it's not, it's the teaching, it's the learning teaching wheel. And I'm actually going to put up a little, I am not a graphic-y, high-techy person, but they gave me this image of a sphere, and within the sphere, and I'll just kind of like put it around here somewhere, you see, learn. It's like, if this is the line where you're starting here, you're learning, and then it's like, okay, I got it, and then you're like, cool, I'm gonna teach that now. So you go back over it, and you get benefit, and whoever you teach gets benefit. And when you return to that point, it's like, well, now I want to learn more. I've up-leveled myself. So it's like you go back, and now you're going this way, and then you've learned and learned and learned, and then that arc, teach to learn, learn to teach. So it spins on itself and kind of begins to form this this figure eight, this kind of infinity pattern of, hey, I'm learning. Oh, look, I'm going to teach it. Oh, I got more learning to do. Hey, we're going to teach some. So it's like it continues. And that's closer to what the wheel of karma actually is and does than, you did a bad thing, go sit in the corner. That's just not like that. So they go on, even though we have presented this as a pole within the duality matrix, they, teaching and learning, hold the diameter, like I was just very poorly describing with my hands. They hold the diameter of a sacred circle. And as you learn, so you teach. As you teach, so you ache to learn more. And so the cycle, the wheel, this sacred circle continues. And again, I'll put it right there. And they want you to think about how I didn't do both of those things on one circle because it looked confusing to the eye. So they recommend laying them, like when you look at the circle that's the learn to teach, and you look at the one that's teach to learn, imagine that they're laid right on top of each other as overlays happening simultaneously. That is what is happening all the time, and that kind of unification creates this flow of multi-dimensionality. So it's like more than meets the eye. Now you have this energy and this frequency flow that's happening in all directions. Again, going back to that kind of everything all at once. We get it in smaller kind of micro examples right here in our very linear existence if we pay attention. They continue. Eventually, as your vibration lifts to a higher octave frequency, from the sacred circle is born the sacred spiral. The closed loop lifts open into an infinite spiral that allows for higher frequency energies to come through and integrate into you in your current now moment of access, while simultaneously offering all the wisdom you have garnered thus far back to source, which elevates the whole of the whole of the whole, which includes you. And I'm going to pause there just for a second because I made myself a note, because this is where my partner's head started to explode a little bit. And they had me explain to him, you have this linear wheel or this linear line rather, I'm sorry. And then you have the wheel that is, it's not stationary, it's moving along the trajectory of that timeline. So you roll the wheel along the line, the more you shed in your learning and the more you elevate in your teaching, the lighter your energy and your density becomes. And this is what ultimately widens and opens that circle, that sphere, to start to spin open and infinitely as the spiral that connects back to source. And so now, like they said, you now have something to offer to source that then gets offered to the whole of the whole of the whole, of which you are a part of. And these things are happening simultaneously. This motion, and this motion all are happening simultaneously. So try to, the best I can offer when you're absorbing this kind of awareness and knowledge, is that it's not brain knowledge, it's heart. Like, settle into your heart and just open it up and allow it to imprint. It's not important that you have an intellectual understanding of this information so much as you have a willingness to surrender and open and allow yourself to receive the imprint of it. And then it'll start to integrate in and start to practically apply itself through you, if that makes sense. I hope it does. Okay, so where did I leave off? The whole of the whole that includes you. So even within these very linear expressions and experiences, the universe continues to live up to the living, breathing paradox that it is, insisting that even here inside of your chosen, dualistic by nature and intent, linear incarnation, there is always the offering of the divine, always. For the prime directive or purpose in choosing to forget your divinity in the first place is to see how you craft a narrative and weave an opening, a crack of light from within you that will awaken it once more, not just through your remembering, but your rediscovery of its essence through this new lens. I love that. I just love that. I always joke with clients that our souls are like, hey, wouldn't it be cool if we draw this insane labyrinth and then erase our memories and drop ourselves down there and see if we can get out? It's like we're all drunk on Stardust or something, like, yeah, let's do it. But ultimately, there's such beauty in going, hey, let's see how far we can kind of stretch our essence, our awareness, the wonder that is the soul. Let's see if we can rediscover ourselves. It's like the soul doesn't even want to remember something that was. That's not interesting or fun. The soul wants to rediscover something through a new lens so that it can continue stepping into the unknown. And I have to, I'm an Aries sun, so I live for it. Change is something that I really, really enjoy. I find it exciting. And one of the messages that they have given me repeatedly to share with others is that nothing is unknown necessarily to the soul itself. So to step into your own unknown, if you're infinite in your very essence, is just to level up into something that you forgot, that you already had within you, but in a new way, from a new frame of reference, carrying all of the wisdom and the mastery that's embedded in you from all of your incarnations and experiences. It's really, really cool. Okay, so once this lens widens, so to speak, it will allow for a more panoramic view of the whole soul experience. And no, I'll keep going because they say it. A whole soul experience. We are not suggesting that you suddenly would have the equivalent of hundreds of televisions turned on all at once, each to different channels at full volume. No. This would only serve to overload and short circuit the human vessel itself, and that would defeat the purpose itself, which is that slow unfolding and unfurling, which we talked about earlier. It doesn't serve us in this form, in this chosen experience, to have that kind of access to everything all at once. It's enough for the evolution and ascension of our soul at this time to just understand that those other channels do exist, and we can utilize that in meditation to go in and neutralize or prune out discord or dead channels or redundancy. That's where we can really start to get precise with our frequency healing, so that we can create space to move into these higher vibrational experiences and expressions of being. So they say the slow unfolding and unfurling, the opening to receiving and integrating these new frequencies in a way that supports wholeness, renewal, and the capacity to sustain and maintain these new levels of awareness. That's very important. I live on a noisy street. And the windows are open now because it's finally warm, so we might get some jams periodically. We want to be able to integrate. We want to be able to sustain this. We don't just want extreme highs and then a plunk back down into like the denseness. We want to be able to kind of like to be able to hang out and know that we can stay here. All right, let's try a little more. Oh yeah, we can stay here. That's the game. Once the lens widens, it offers the awareness of your multi-dimensionality. We would offer the visual of being seated at the center of an observation deck that mirrors the sacred circle, except now it is a full spectrum sphere with you as the center point. All available and active timelines are moving out from this nexus point. We call this the nexus of infinity crossroads, the point of your own larger, some may call this the oversoul, soul source of its own fractalization. For as we each fractalize from source, so do the fractals themselves continue to break off, like a tree that reaches out with its larger branches that then reach out even farther and in new directions with offshoots of new branches and so forth. And in this way, we can reach out infinitely in all directions. Ergo, everything all at once everywhere. But they say too, the visualization that they gave me that I actually use in my healing work that I'm going to offer to you now is that the observation deck, you can think of it as that seat being if you were at your third eye, but you like took a giant step back, so you were like in the center of your head, but like behind the lens of your third eye. And then your crown is what opens, kind of like a planetarium dome ceiling. And then you can lift your awareness up through that dome, and from there is the seat of that nexus where you have access to all of those channels in a way that is safe for you to access them in this very much human experience, which is why I typically do it in healing sessions where we can raise your frequency and I can guide you through it, so we know what we're looking for and it's not just like everything coming at you. Okay, they continue. These linear timelines, all of these branches, are like the leaves. Eventually they will die off, falling to the earth below the branch from which they sat, and break back down into nourishment for the very roots of its initial existence. Life force returning to its source of life. I mean, how beautiful is that? So we don't need to get attached to past lives or parallel lives or whatever, because they're all expressions that have branched out from the core essence, and they're ephemeral. They're ephemeral by nature. They're meant to do their A to B's, and then evolve up and unify and come back into center to enhance the whole of the whole of the whole of which you are a part. So where did I leave off? Right, life force returning to its source of life. All soul fractals will follow the same path. And so in lifting your frequency and opening your awareness in order that you gain access to your own nexus of infinity crossroads, you allow yourselves the opportunity to prune inactive and redundant timelines that no longer serve your adjusted vibrational attunement matrix, which is again why it's so great for healing. In order to continue up the sacred spiral, there is a shedding that is required. For to return to light, you must leave behind that which is most dense: fear, shame, guilt, anger, othering, and return to love. Unconditional, full of grace, expressing through joy and gratitude. And so from your nexus, you're able to scan for discordant frequencies, images, sounds, waveforms, however they present to and for you, and lovingly tend to the tree of life, which is you, your whole soul being, here and now. Some of these timelines will benefit the whole, and that's you and the whole of the whole, by collapsing inward and into your current prime focus point of light timeline. In this way, all of the mastery gained from each can be rolled into and integrated as soul oneness in the chosen here and now. For in our return to the ultimate oneness, we must roll the ball of energy from its farthest point first. We must build from the ground up, or more multi-dimensionally speaking, from the center out. So we don't just go, I know a lot of people too, it's like, let's rush to ascension. Are we ascended? Let's ascend. And I don't know, but like, as crazy as things are right now, the human experience is a gift, and it's magical, and it's fun, and it's beautiful and brilliant in its levels of contrast that really enable you to get closer and closer to that compassion element, to that unconditional love element, so that we can learn how to not other. That's the key. Like it's all you, it's all me, we're all we. So you start to realize that and really see that in others. It starts to show you what it is that could be pruned and healed or dissolved or transmuted within you, or it encourages you to start seeing the beauty. And that is where it gets really fun and really beautiful, because then that's a ripple effect. That's the train ultimately that we're on, but that's the ripple effect that we want to create, instead of kind of side-eyeing differences. Be curious, see the beauty in something that isn't like you, or someone that isn't like you, and then they get a chance to see that through your lens, which is different from their lens, and so it just elevates everything. Yeah. So pruning is important, but also that convergence, where it's like, okay, if there's a lot of stuff that is completing or is kind of similar in nature or would benefit this kind of prime focus point, then invite it to come in, invite it to converge, invite it to add to the mosaic of brilliant frequency and energy that is your heart center wisdom, so that it can pulse out. It amplifies. So it's why choirs can be so powerful. You can have one voice sing and it can be amazing. It could be a brilliantly beautiful, amazing voice. But if you take like 500 of those together and they sing together, that's like, that's powerful. And so think of it kind of that way. All right, So I believe, yes, we are coming to the end of this transmission. So they continue on. So gather only what is needed, dear ones. Let go of that which is already or which has already served. Integrate fully into your heart wisdom, as we are well aware that there are many different levels of awakening and awareness on your planet at this time. We would offer up this last piece of perspective to your collective. For those whose resonances do not yet lie inside of a more open, multi-dimensional awareness yet, this is perfectly okay. It is perfectly perfect for where you are now. If you are reading or listening to these words out loud, then your first petal of greater awareness is unfolding. Trust your soul's process. It knows the way. Allow for divine right timing that is for you in your now moment of vibration. For those within these frequency bands. Okay, so I'm going to pause there. So if your head explodes thinking about the nexus of infinity crossroads and like, how do I get there? And I don't know how to scan timelines, and like, it sounds cool, but it sounds insane. Like, that's totally fine. It's totally fine. You can, if you're here, if you're listening and you have that curiosity, then the imprint is landing in a way that when your vibration is stable enough in a higher frequency realm, and higher doesn't mean better, it's just lighter, you'll be able to start, like, again, you start on the line, you move into the wheel turns into the spiral. You can be wherever you are from your awareness point of focus within those kind of three active energies. They're all happening anyway. So just be where you are. It's like yoga. Like, just be where you are. Some bodies are never going to be able to do like full splits. Be where you are. It's no less valid for you to stretch, in more of a V than instead of a straight line. You're all getting benefit. So higher doesn't mean better. I want to impart that very firmly and lovingly to you all. But what they do offer here, trust your soul's process. So for those within these frequency bands, the head exploding frequency band, we have observed past life exploration within your current linear timeline expression and experience to be very helpful, because the human brain understands forward and backwards. And in doing that work, you begin the shedding that lifts the frequency, that allows for the more multidimensional spin that will allow you to lift up and sit ultimately at your nexus without being freaked out or feeling pressure that you're doing it wrong, like any of those number of things that come in. So just be where you are. That's why, again, I use yoga because it's such a great example. When you watch videos, there's always somebody doing something crazy, somebody in the middle doing something that's like challenging, but like okay, and then somebody over here going, hey, listen, if you just do this, it's fine. You'll still get somewhere. So it's all good. It's all getting you where ultimately you're going to go. Anyway, like they said, one way or another, it doesn't really matter. That what matters is that you're enjoying the process, and that you're leaning in and surrendering. That's the other thing too, is just surrender to where you are. Your soul knows the way, so let it carry you. So, but they go on and say, for those within these frequency bands, we have observed past life exploration within your current linear timeline expression and experience to be very helpful. It begins the pruning and integration process in order to clear the pathway that once presented as a straight line and open it into the sacred circle. This is what will prepare you for the lift into sacred spiral flow and to take your seat at the center of your nexus of infinity crossroads. For in healing old wounds, we make space for new light and new growth. Yes, I should have just read it. This is what happens when I transcribe and then I type and then I read. It's like I don't know that I'm saying what I'm going to say. Okay. And so in closing, we are all students, and this is ASHA speaking, we include ourselves in that as well, for we too are fractals of Source, rediscovering even higher octave expressions of our own divinity through our connections both with Source and with you. We are all teachers, and we include you in that as well, for we all have unique offerings that only we can give. They come from the unique path that our souls have laid out for us so that we may learn how to return home to ourselves, to love. We leave you now in this love, for you are love. That is how they close every transcription. We leave you in love, for you are love. And so that is how I will leave you today. I want to thank you so much for being here. They're quite excited too out there. Thank you so much for being here. I hope you're having a beautiful week. Feel free to leave a comment on just where you are in your own human experience, how this landed with you. I'm going to be, like I said, adding some meditations on this channel. As a musician, I can make some dreamy sounds, and they give me a lot of stuff, so I'm slowly putting together some really beautiful meditations. There'll be live channelings, there'll be transcribed channelings, and I'm also going to do monthly energy reports. I do intuitive tarot, so I'm less predictive and kind of more reading the energy and offering up just kind of helpful navigational tools within that energy. I don't believe in a fixed future, so I don't like to put one out there for anybody to grab a hold of, because that is how we manifest. So I like to leave it a choose your own adventure. I just dated myself there. But yeah, I'll be doing so, and then I'll be doing the readings, and then I have a little series I might bring to this channel called the Happy Tree Oracle. Even wrote a theme song, a little bit of a bop that I'm obsessed with, I'm not gonna lie. But I may bring those here, and those are little weekly one card pulls to kind of give a little mantra, little guidance for the week to kind of get us in the right frequency flow. Okay, so yeah, if you like all of that, it sounds good to you, like, share, subscribe, join the community, and I will see you next time. I love you guys. Take care of yourselves, take care of each other. Yeah, that's all. I'll stop talking now.